Thank you. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us for the Intrommune Private Investor Meeting. My name is Tian Wong with Opus 8, and I just introduced Skylar, who's our co-host. Basically, we're going to have a 10-minute, 12-minute presentation by the CEO, Michael Nelson, who I'll introduce very soon, followed by Q&A. We're going to do questions and answers in a couple ways. If you have a question at any time, you can type it right into the chat box. The question and answer will be moderated by Keith James, who's the company's CFO. If it's a complicated question or a technical question, feel free to raise your hand, and Keith will call on you and you can ask the question. We're going to run a quick poll at 12:15 just to take your temperature to see who's super interested or who's less interested, etc. And aside from that, we thank you for joining. I think the company, just from a key investment consideration standpoint, is a super attractive opportunity, one of the better ones we've seen in a long time. Massive market. Company has a clear pathway to FDA approval, in which case you'll see a step up in valuation. Huge upside potential. Unique intellectual property. Company's got 35 patents, so US and internationally. So very interesting technology we can go into later if you'd like. World-class leadership team. And also a nice list of credible and experienced investors with fundraising traction. Company's already raised an A round of around 3.7 million, and now the current round is 3 million. And about a third of it's already been committed. And it's a pretty attractive deal, and minimum investment sizes are pretty reasonable. So with that, I'd like to introduce this company's CEO, Michael Nelson, who will then run through the presentation with you and also introduce his team. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you, Tian. Really appreciate it. And I have to thank you and Skylar and Inez. You've been fantastic, and the turnout is great. So really appreciate it. I'm Michael Nelson. I am the CEO of Intrommune Therapeutics. Intrommune is developing a toothpaste-based approach to treating food allergies. We protect people from accidental exposure, and we're really passionate about what we're doing. One of the reasons we're so passionate about it is we know what it's like to live with food allergies. Our inventor, Bill Reisacker, when he was 7 years old, he accidentally ate a cookie that had peanuts in it and had to go to the emergency room. He almost died. So we take this really personally. And Bill Reisacker, even as a physician, he still frequently has accidental exposures. Almost every year he comes into contact with a peanut. But you shouldn't just invest in Intrommune because you will be doing good. You should invest because we have substantial upside potential due to the tremendous unmet market need, and we have multiple value inflection points. You should also invest because we have relatively low development risk. I don't think you'll find a biotechnology company at our stage with as low risk as we have. And Intrommune represents a significant improvement over a competitor that was just bought for $2.6 billion, just to give you a sense of the market potential. You have the opportunity now to invest at $3 a share. Our current valuation is $60 million. We're looking to raise $3 million by mid-September, and we already have $1 million of that circled. Okay. Our mission, our entire team is dedicated to our mission, which is to develop safe and effective options for individuals suffering with food allergy so that they and their loved ones can live their lives without fear. And that's really important because it's not just the 32 million Americans who have food allergies, it's their entire families that live in constant fear of accidental exposure. We're all hearing the news about food allergies. It's in the news more and more often. More people are food allergic than they used to be. And children with food allergies are often bullied, feel ostracized. They have to sit at separate tables. So their entire families live in a constant state of fear. Our pipeline is composed of the 9 foods that cause over 90% of food allergies. Our first target is peanut protein. We're really, right now, the only option is avoidance. You try not to eat products that contain peanuts, but it's really difficult. Peanuts are in so much. And there is one product that's out there. It's the first FDA-approved product for any food allergy that's ever been approved. And unfortunately, it's a product you have to eat. You have to eat peanut protein, essentially, and only 1 in 10 patients are willing to use it. We had an Allergy and Asthma Network survey. 90% of patients said that they would use our product. What we have is really a very elegant solution. We take the proteins that people are allergic to, we embed them in a fully functional toothpaste. It does clean your teeth, and you get your allergy immunotherapy when you brush your teeth. This is really important because we know allergy immunotherapy works if you do it consistently, and 98% of people brush their teeth every day. Some other points is we take the proteins that you're allergic to. So they're naturally sourced, in this case for our first product, peanut proteins. So we don't have to worry about toxicology. If you're not allergic to peanuts, you could eat them all day, you could brush your teeth all day with this toothpaste, and it's not gonna have any effect on you. What we do is really based on principles that have been around for over 100 years. People know it as allergy shots for respiratory allergies. You would never do that for food allergies. They're just way too dangerous. When you brush your teeth with our toothpaste, INT301, the toothpaste enters your mouth, it liquefies. You brush your teeth and you're pushing it all around, so you coat the surface of the mucosa, and then you have these specialized cells called oral Langerhans cells. They reach up and pull those proteins into the lymphatic system and start the desensitization process. But what's really important, that first 30, 60 seconds that you're brushing your teeth, those proteins bind ionically to the surface of the mucosa, and then the rest is done by the body behind the scenes. But the mouth is a really great classroom for teaching the body what to react to and not react to. Our investment opportunity is really large. We have, I mentioned 32 million people in the US with food allergies. There's 6 million that have peanut allergies. Of those, 1.6 million are children. We estimate our serviceable market to be approximately 1 million people. I'm sorry, 700,000 people. We have the one product that's out there was priced at close to $11,000 per year. They are getting insurance coverage, so that makes our total addressable market over $7 billion. But I want to point out, insurance companies pay for adherence, people actually using the product. By having this product as a toothpaste, we have built-in adherence. They also pay for reduced adverse events. They don't want to be sending, paying for patients to go to the emergency room, which 14% of patients on the other product do need to do. So we have the potential to charge even more than $11,000. This is a product that you should be doing for the rest of your life. You brush your teeth every day, so it fits in really well. So once we get a patient, that's a lifelong patient in most cases. And our product too is going to be a multi-product, so multi-foods. So we expect our product too to have even bigger market share potential than our peanut product. And I also want to point out, I'm just talking about the US right now. Europe actually has a bigger issue with peanut allergies, and our IP covers the entire world. We have 2 families of patents that have patents issued from. Tiana mentioned 35. We actually just got one in Korea, so we now have 36 patents, and a lot more coming. That's 2 patent families, one that covers allergens plus toothpaste for immunotherapy, and the second is around the formulation, how we stabilize those proteins. We are very de-risked. The market is continuing to grow. Each year, there's 100,000 new peanut allergic individuals. We have near-term liquidity events. In a few weeks, we expect data from our phase 1 study. That's going to be a huge value inflection point. We're going to continue to get data over the oncoming months. So there's a number of value inflection points. We have relatively low development risk. We have over 1,000 patients that have used this platform for respiratory allergies. So we know it works. We also know that if you put peanut protein in someone's mouth from a number of university studies, that you will desensitize people. In fact, 2 milligrams of peanut protein in the mouth works as well as the one product that's been approved has you eat 300 milligrams of peanut protein. We contact 12 times the surface areas under the mouth. We contact more optimal parts of the mouth, and we have the built-in adherence, And, to avoid adverse events, you learn from a very young age to spit out toothpaste. So patients, practitioners, payers, they're all desperately seeking protection from accidental exposure. We have the product that offers that. We have a very good relationship with the FDA, very collaborative. We don't have to do toxicology. I mentioned that earlier. We also don't have to do pharmacokinetics. We're coating the surface of the mucosa. The protein does not go into the bloodstream. And the FDA also didn't require us to do animal models. We have a fantastic relationship with Circuit Clinical. Our phase 1 study is underway. It's a really great partnership. We had this very unique opportunity to go on a show called Unicorn Hunters. It's kind of like Shark Tank. We were one of the first episodes, though we are the most watched episode of theirs, a very popular episode. We got Steve Wozniak and Mo Vela, both agreeing to invest. And we actually just announced yesterday that Mo is joining us as an advisor. Mo was an advisor to 2 White House administrations. So we're really excited. Our goal with Unicorn Hunters was to raise awareness of the company. With over 9 million views, we've done that. But we also, in conjunction with that, are doing this offering. So for a limited time, you could invest. As we said, we're looking for $3 million. We have $1 million circled already. Just a little history. Tian mentioned this. We did close our Series A, 3.7 million. We were targeting about half that. We were targeting the Series A to pay for our investigational new drug application with the FDA. We actually raised enough to fully fund our phase 1 study. Some of the investors, some of the big name investors that we have include Robinhood Ventures, Chemical Angel Network, which is known for doing really deep diligence, Red Bear Angels, and Timberline Holdings. We have a very experienced and growing management team. Together, we've helped raise over $8 billion. And a number of these people are actually on the phone right now, are on the line right now. Eric and Keith are both here. There may be some others who I just can't see because I'm presenting right now. But also we have a great advisory board. The advisory board is very experienced, both business and scientific advisory boards. They've been involved in many dozens of development programs, all the way from discovery through post-approval. We have Terry is on our advisory board, who's also on the call right now. So just as an overview of Intrommune and why we're such a great opportunity, we are very de-risked, right? This kind of therapy, immunotherapy, has been around for over a century. We've had over 1,000 patients use the product platform for respiratory allergies. And we know peanut protein placed in the oral cavity will desensitize you. There's been a number of studies that have proven that. So we're early, but we have a lot of late stage data. We have significant upside with multiple value inflection points. Our next value inflection point, as I mentioned, is coming in September when we get the first readout of our phase 1 study. So now's the time to get involved. And we have a significant advantage over a company that just got bought for $2.6 billion. So it just gives you a sense of the potential for what we're doing. So I want to open this up to questions, but I also want to introduce Keith James, Eric Berglund, and as I mentioned, we also have Terry on the phone as one of our advisors, and there may be some other people. So thank you very much.
Great. There's a few questions in the chat room. I could list them off, or would that make sense now?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So the first question is Scott Suhi. I hope I pronounced that right. How well does this compete with sublingual immunotherapy, the liquid drops? Is there anyone making a successful competitor around the drops? Can I answer that one?
Sure.
So yeah, this would theoretically compete with that. That is what that is. I'll just explain. Is liquid drops that contain peanut proteins that patients put under their tongue, usually once a day, hold it for a few minutes, and then spit it out. It's been done around the world for respiratory allergies, mostly in Europe. It's growing in the US, but at the moment there's no product that's in development. And the reason for that is there's no real patentable process around that. It's an idea that's been out there for a long time. So the only thing that's left to protect your project would be just the allergens itself, and that's a fairly straightforward thing. So we know that big companies like Sanofi had a program, but they abandoned it. They just couldn't find a way to differentiate it. But that's an interesting question, because the data around sublingual immunotherapy, which is copious for food allergies, is what we're basing our understanding of what our expected safety and efficacy will be, because that's exposing the immune system directly through the oral mucosa, just like the slit drops. So there may be some doctors out there doing it individually. There's not going to be an FDA-approved slit product, so it's not going to be a competitor in that sense.
Right. And I'd throw in that it's actually very difficult. That they've done these studies and they've found that actually putting this liquid or holding this under your tongue every day is difficult. Compliance is not as great. And this was in studies where people tend to comply much better. So one of the clinicians, probably the biggest name in sublingual immunotherapy, we regularly speak to, he's really excited about what we're doing. But another key thing is, even with the sublingual immunotherapy, you end up swallowing that, which does potentially cause some adverse events. We don't, though, much less than you've seen with eating peanut powder. We expect to have a much better safety profile. We can get our dose much higher than they can, so we expect better efficacy. The sublingual space, it turns out the area under the tongue, while it does work, is actually the least optimal part of the mouth to put these proteins. You had the lowest concentration of those oral Langerhans cells that I mentioned. And it turns out right where food wells, which is also right where toothpaste wells, is where you have the highest concentration. So we contact much more optimal parts of the mouth. I also wanted to say, Alan Van Loo is our Chief Operating Officer. He actually is also on, so he could chime in. He's been brought on to lead our Series B raise in the fall. That's going to be an institutional round, though I hope some of you participate as well. The minimum size on that is going to be significantly larger, though.
Great. There's a question from Herb Ezrin. How many times a day does one need to brush? How long should one brush? Can a liquid wash away this element?
Yeah. So the American Dental Association recommends you brush for two minutes. We're going to do our studies at 2 minutes. All the liquid drop studies have generally been done hold under your tongue for 2 minutes. So everything lines up really well. We know that those proteins bind to the surface of the mucosa pretty quickly. So if you don't brush for the full 2 minutes, that's probably okay. If you rinse your mouth, that's okay too. Certainly, we expect you to spit out the toothpaste. Those proteins bind pretty tightly with the surface of the mucosa. Mm-hmm. So it actually all kind of works out really, really well. And right now, this is once a day. So we expect people, if they brush 2 or 3 times a day, to use their other toothpaste, their regular toothpaste. But when we have product 2 coming out, if you're multiple food allergic, we expect you to be using 2 or 3 of our products. And so you'll use one each time you brush your teeth.
Great. There's quite a few questions. Let me roll over a few more. One of the attendees has asked, what strategic relationships does Intrommune have in place, or are they building? For example, can Crest market a brand for people with food allergies? Is there any relationship with FARE, F-A-R-E?
Yeah. So we are in regular discussions with FARE, that's Food Allergy Research and Education. We are talking with them about for our phase 2 studies, using some of their sites. We've been on very good terms with them for many years. With regards to companies like Crest and Colgate, we really kind of cross over between pharmaceutical and consumer. So this is a prescription product, but there is a huge consumer component to it. So we've talked with and have discussions with people who make electric toothbrushes, for example. We're going to be able to track people, what they're doing, how they brush. We'll have apps on their phone. We're going to have really close contact with our end user, which is very different from a typical pharma company. So there's a lot of discussions going. We have a number of discussions going on with various strategic pharmaceutical companies as well.
Okay. Seta Goff asked, how will users or customers acquire this product?
Yeah, so this is going to be a prescription product. You will need to go to your doctor's office. You will start on a dose. We are actually, as part of our study, the first answer in September is, is it safe? Which looks like it is, because we've had many patients updose at this point, and we haven't had any issues. But the second part of the study is, can we start at a higher dose and shorten the time period to get to maintenance? So every 2 weeks, you'll come into the doctor's office, brush your teeth. We're looking to get that to be about 2 to 3 months till you hit maintenance, and then you'll just brush your teeth like you normally would, potentially for the rest of your life, to maintain that desensitization. It takes probably about 6 months to a year to reach the desensitization level where you could be really comfortable going out and about. But you will get more protection as time goes on, and you'll maintain that protection if you stay on the product.
Okay. This is Peter Yang asked a fairly technical question, and I'm glad that our scientific advisor, Bill Reitzecker, is on, because he deals with this every day in the clinic. But the question is, how do food allergies are a type 1 hypersensitivity, immediate reaction due to antigen cross-linking with the IgE on mast cells. So a late reaction is due to chemokines from mast cells. Where exactly does this product work? That's actually a very difficult question. Do you want to take a stab at that first, Bill?
Sure. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
And thanks, everybody, for joining us on this meeting. Yeah, the purpose of desensitization, and this is for respiratory as well as food allergy, is really upregulating the T regulatory cells and the T helper cells. So that leads to an overall reduction in the specific IgE that goes to the mucosa and then binds to the effector cells like mast cells, basophils. So that's the basic process behind this. And there's also downregulation in the cytokines as well.
Yeah. Okay. Gary Wolfson asked, who was the competitor that was bought out? And I can answer that. That was a product from a company called Aimmune, and it was purchased by Nestle. So Aimmune is the startup company, so to speak, that worked on it, got it all the way through to approval, and then about 8 months after approval, it was purchased. The approval came in January 2020.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, Eric. They purchased the company, and Nestle purchased Aimmune at the end of last year. They were on the board, said they knew all the issues. Aimmune's product is one that you have to spend half the day in the doctor's office. You go to the physician's office. A lot of patients, because you're eating peanut protein, end up in the emergency room. Nobody wants to use that product during pandemic. Nobody wants to go to the emergency room. Nobody wants to spend half a day in the doctor's office. Nestle knew all this, and they bought it for $2.6 billion because they knew they were getting a bargain. There were no sales at that point, but they know the potential here. There was another company that has not been able to get approval. It has a skin patch. They were valued at, sorry, there's a motorcycle going down the street. They were valued at close to, actually over $4 billion. We heard they got buyout offers before they had issue with their phase 3. The skin is not, is generally considered a route of sensitization, not desensitization. Could go into details, but there's tremendous potential here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dongshu Wang asked about proven data, like pilot clinical data that indicates efficacy with this product. And if so, what would be the key metrics to look into for this product? And I can take a stab at that. So this goes back to sublingual immunotherapy. That was part of the first question. So we know that sublingual immunotherapy is very effective and very safe. In fact, probably safer than the product that's been approved by the FDA. So we're relying on that data, which is allergens exposed only to the oral mucosa and then usually spit out, but sometimes swallowed. But that's the key place where the interaction occurs. So looking at that data, which can provide a lot of protection, even as much protection as the Aimmune product that was purchased by Nestle. The Nestle product, you need about 300 milligrams of peanut protein per day ingested. That's a lot, but it's a lot because you have to overcome, the digestive juices and so forth in the stomach. When you're just doing sublingual immunotherapy with the drops, you can get by with a lot less. In fact, 2 to 4 milligrams seems to be about enough to get the same reaction, the same efficacy for sublingual immunotherapy as it does for 300 milligrams of the Aimmune Nestle product, which is ingested. So we're relying on some of those studies that have been done, and there's a number of them in the literature. And if you reach out to us, I can share some of that data with you. But that will, so when it comes to our clinical studies, like Aimmune, like DBV, another competitor we haven't talked about, the drop dead like endpoint that they need to see is like protection from exposure to peanuts. Like it's actually measured by feeding small amounts of peanuts and increasing doses until you start to get a reaction. It's difficult for the subjects, but that is what the FDA expects from all the other competitors and from us as well. Can it actually protect you? Not blood markers or things like that. Those things are also measured and they're helpful, but it's really practical protection.
And we also have Dr. Reisacker, who did a study in respiratory allergies for oral mucosal immunotherapies, which is what we call the toothpaste. Bill, do you want to just mention a little bit about that study?
Sure, Michael. That was a real-world study that was funded by New York State, and that was looking at comparing liquid sublingual immunotherapy for respiratory allergies to oral mucosal immunotherapy using the toothpaste delivery system. And symptom medication score improvement was seen in both groups. Quality of life improved. Cytokines also improved. Biomarkers, a bump in IgG4 was also seen. So side effect profile was also very favorable to oral mucosal, as was adherence. Most of the adverse events were very mild and transient, almost exclusively occurring in the oral cavity as opposed to sublingual immunotherapy, which, as Michael mentioned, is swallowed. So many of those patients also had gastrointestinal side effects, even eosinophilic esophagitis.
Jeffrey Galvin asked a question: under what entity are the patents held? Can they be looked up on USPTO or Google patent searches?
Yeah, so we have global exclusive rights via license from a company called Elevate Therapeutics. Those patents can be looked up. You could look them up under Elevate Therapeutics. We have, as I said, there's 2 patent families, and we believe we have complete freedom to operate. We've been looked at before, but we do have additional intellectual property that we are working on because we think we have a couple of new inventions. So right now we have protection through 2034. We expect to extend that to 2041 and beyond.
Felicia Ellenberg asked, who's your patent counsel and how much freedom to operate do you have for broad claims in this space? Sorry.
Yeah, so our patent counsel is Dinsmore and Shaw. We have not done a freedom to operate. We've had some investors who have done it and didn't have any issues. So the important thing to realize is toothpaste has been around for a very long time. So all the key patents on toothpaste have gone away a long time ago. So really what we were patenting is a very specific area around allergy immunotherapy. Eric, if you want to tell the story about like when we first got involved with this, why don't you do that?
There's a lot of questions, but I'll keep it really brief. Yeah, I thought this was an interesting idea when Michael and Bill, when I met them, really, and I saw the idea. I said, yeah, this is a great idea. This should work, but you're not going to get patent on it. There's no way. And because I worked for a while in a patent law firm, and I realized that there's always tons of prior art in every patent, because when you have an invention, you throw in every other possible embodiment. And I've seen toothpaste as one of the boilerplate language in a lot of patents. So I thought, no way, there's going to be tons of prior art. But as I looked into it, I realized, this is a special mode of administration. It's not going into the bloodstream. It's just going like a vaccine, just in contact with your immune system to the lymphatic system. And as that unwound for me over a couple of days while I was looking at this, going, this is actually an interesting little oasis of protection that otherwise would be shut out for other kinds of small molecules that operate, that work through the circulatory system. That's not what this is. And therefore, this is a nice little area. It's really an oasis. So I'm very happy with that.
And I'll add that our IP actually covers oral care products, not just toothpaste. The key patents that have issued have been focused around toothpaste, but we have other things like oral strips.
Okay, let's see. Oh, that's from Bill. So Gary Wolfson asks, what happens if you stop using the toothpaste? It's actually a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. We know for respiratory allergies, 3 to 5 years gives you long-term protection, 10, 20 years of protection. It seems like for food allergies, when you go off them, a lot of people over time become sensitive again. It's not clear if you do it for 10 years, do you get long-term desensitization? Some patients will be essentially cured and they'll be able to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But it seems like for most patients, this is a product that you really should be using for the rest of your life.
Okay, Artie Santhanam, I hope I got it right, it asks, are there concerns about accidental overdoses with this product? And would you have to market this with a companion anti-inflammatory?
So, there's always concerns, but we use a metered delivery device. So, it looks like what we show in the pictures is like a nurdle of toothpaste. We actually have very controlled dosing, but our dosing is also much lower than the product that's been approved that has you eat 300 milligrams. So even if you eat all the toothpaste, you swallow all the toothpaste, which, little kids swallow a lot of toothpaste, adults maybe only 5%. But even if you swallowed all of it, you're still getting a much lower dose than the one product that's out there. So that gives us a lot of comfort on the safety end. And was there a second half to that question?
Offering a companion anti-inflammatory.
Oh yeah, Bill, you could answer that question. I think the answer is no, but.
Yeah, I mean, with the product, it's possible the FDA will also require patients who have food allergy to have epinephrine on hand. So that is something that most food allergy patients already have. But a companion anti-inflammatory, as Michael mentioned, no.
Okay, Artie asks again another question. Will we need a pivotal trial? And does the FDA see this as a consumer product or maybe a class 1 device with 510K pathway?
Yeah, this is biologic. It's been shown through the FDA, through the product that's been approved, that they're willing to accept turning food proteins into biologic drugs. We may need to pull in some of the device people as we go through the process, but the pump that we're using right now is actually already used in a number of pharmaceutical products, so we don't expect any issues on that end.
Okay. Leo Luo asks, is it applicable to fill the toothpaste as a kind of OTC product, or does it have to be a prescription product?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a number of safety studies. You mentioned we do have to do a pivotal study. Yeah. So it will be a few years before this product is on the market. But and we'll get a good sense of the safety. We do expect updosings to be done, at least several of the updosings to be done in doctor's office, and then occasional visits to the allergist. But if it turns out to be so safe, it may be possible that some patients can do this without a physician. But right now it's going to be a prescription product, and long term we could look at OTC.
Okay, and Robert Longear asks what is probably the $50 million question, quite literally. What are the plans for phase 2 and phase 3?
Yeah, so we're already developing those plans. We're getting a lot of data from the phase 1. That's why I was saying there'll be additional data coming. So the safety question is answered in September, but we're getting additional data from our phase 1. We'll be kicking off the phase 2. We're actually going to get some efficacy data. So some people could argue that our phase 1 is really a little bit of a phase 2 as well. But we'll be kicking off, the first pivotal study. It will probably be a phase 2-3 next year. In total, we expect we need 600 patients on therapy for about a year before we could get FDA approval.
Okay. I think this might be the last one. Doug
can I interrupt really quickly?
Sure.
Let's just run a quick poll Sky, if you can put up the poll so we can at least gauge interest level from our team. This is confidential. We're not going to publish the poll, obviously. And then management will follow up with you guys. But obviously, anyone who's really interested, please let us know. If you're interested and want more information, same thing. If you're not interested, but you know people, and also if you're not interested. So if you guys could kindly do that, that would be appreciated. And then we can go back to Q&A afterwards. Okay. But I still see some, yeah. So we're still seeing the poll results coming in. So
yeah, we can continue with the Q&A while I leave the poll up for another minute or so.
Okay.
If you want to.
Yeah, good idea. Thanks, Scott.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, where was I? Doug Poritz asks, okay, what and how have you determined the valuation of the company, especially given the high value for the comparative company that was acquired?
Yeah, so we've done quite a bit of analysis. We've spoken with Wall Street analysts. We spoke with strategics. We had a fair bit of interest from investors over the years. And then we also know what DBV and Immune were both worth at various stages of the game. So we have, I mean, I could actually show you a couple of slides, but I don't want to spend too much time on it because we don't have a lot. But well, if it would let me move forward, there you go. So we looked at what other companies were worth and based our evaluation on that. DBV, when people weren't sure if it would even work after their phase 1 or before, they had a valuation of 145 million. We have so much more information at this point. Immunomic got $300 million upfront payment plus royalties. So there's a lot of information out there. But as I said, we talked to Wall Street analysts, we spoke to executives, we were pricing this at various points. So we have a lot of feedback. And myself, I was an investment banker. Alan, who's our COO, has a lot of finance experience. So there's a lot of experience on the team. And the head of our business advisory team board was actually a Wall Street analyst for and covered the food allergy space. So there's a lot that's gone into that valuation. For the Series B in the fall, we expect the price to increase, but we will be doing negotiating with a lead. So we're talking to a number of people, and we're going to be looking for a lead and going out with an institutional round that is negotiated.
Okay. Artie Santanam asks, can this be approached separately as a pediatric approval pathway?
Yeah, so we actually, Eric, you might want to answer this too, but while our phase 1 is in adults, our goal is to go straight, and we're getting enough information that we think we could go straight into children in our phase 2 and 3 study. So we expect to be get the approval in children first, and then look to add adults on.
Yeah, I wouldn't add much to that. That's exactly what Amy's product did, and that's exactly what DBV was shooting for. In fact, DBV's had a problem with efficacy in adults anyway. So, but the most important group, the group is the youngest group, because that's the group that has an immune system that can still be manipulated early on. As you get older, your immune system is much harder to manipulate with immunotherapy. And so the difference between treatment arms of studies and placebo arms gets narrower and narrower. And that was exactly the problem that DBV had with their phase 3 study and why they didn't pass. Okay. Okay. Leo Luo asks, what would happen if non-food allergic people, for example, children, misuse this toothpaste?
Yeah, and the answer is nothing. If you're not allergic to whatever's in the toothpaste, then you shouldn't have any issues. It's just like eating peanuts. If anything, it's potentially preventative for people who avoid potentially becoming allergic down the road.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Yeah, actually, Bill put it. Oh, okay. Actually, one more question just came in. Rob Colonia, who are your professional service providers currently? Professional service providers. The law firm or?
Yeah. So if you're talking about professionals like law firms, so Andy Abramowitz, who was a partner at Greenberg Traurig, he hung out his own shingle. I actually know him from law school. He's our corporate counsel. John Lieberman from Perella Wiener, I think it is our accountant. We're actually in the process of doing an audit. So, we have a number of advisors, and then we have a number of consultants that are working with us on the CMC and regulatory side, on the manufacturing and regulatory side. And we also have a manufacturer that we use, Renew in Pennsylvania. So we have a number of individuals involved.
And of course, our clinical site, Circuit Clinical.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have a fantastic partnership with Circuit Clinical.
I don't see any other questions here. I don't think I'm overlooking any. I think we hit them all. The ones that are here, unless another one pops up.
Yeah, so now if anyone has questions that you'd like to unmute yourself and ask, now would be a perfect time, or more questions in the chat is totally okay too.
Yeah, this is Rob Colorino. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I asked a question on the service provider side. I'm familiar with the Perella firm, so it sounds like you are sort of having both New York and DC representation, and we're on the principal side, but I was just curious about that because I think being close to FDA is, and some of the other government sides are a plus in this type of company.
Yeah, so we've had discussions with various healthcare regulatory council. Right now, we're using healthcare regulatory experts. A lot of them are actually out in California. But in terms of legal counsel on the healthcare side, that's something that after we do the Series B, we're going to bring on a larger firm. But right now, I kind of mentioned our accountants. I mentioned our corporate counsel. And then specific healthcare issues, when they arise, we go out and get individual advice. So we've certainly worked with a number of other attorneys than I just mentioned.
Great. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Don't be shy.
Yeah, no, these were great questions.
Yeah, they're great questions. Indeed.
Okay, last call for any more questions. If you guys are good, well, we kind of thank you for participating in the poll. The company will follow up with you for those of you who are interested and very interested. Thank you. And we'll follow back up with Skylar will send out the deck and the we don't need to send the chat transcript, but we'll send the deck and maybe a link to the recording so you can share with colleagues, etc. Michael and Keith and company, any last words?
Well, do you want, just because there's so many of us on, and I didn't really give a chance for people to say who they were, maybe just take a minute for Eric and Bill and everyone else. Some of them spoke to just introduce themselves.
Absolutely.
Shall I start?
Yeah, please.
Hi, yeah. This is Eric Berglund. So I'm the Chief Science Officer and a co-founder of Intrommune. I've been working with Michael and Bill on this for quite a few years now, and I'm very excited. So my background is a biochemistry. I have a PhD in biochemistry. I've worked for a certain amount of time in patent law for a brief period. I became a patent agent or passed the patent agent exam, and have worked at several large pharma companies, including Sanofi, where I actually worked while I did my PhD in Germany, and worked for a consulting firm and a couple of Japanese pharmaceutical companies while I lived in Tokyo for a while. When I came back to the US, I met these guys promptly, and they brought me this idea. I at first said, sounds like a great idea, but you'll never get a patent on it. And then I was wrong, 36 patents later.
Bill, I can't see who's there. So Bill, if you're still there. Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, Bill Reisacker. I'm an ear, nose, and throat physician by trade. Food and airborne allergy is a huge part of my practice. Also, as you can see, very active in the entrepreneurial space. Very happy to be the senior scientific advisor for Intrommune. I'm also a severely peanut allergic individual. So this is very personal to me. And I thank you all again for the opportunity of presenting our company to you.
Great. Alan, are you still on?
I am.
Excellent.
Can you guys see me okay?
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I echo what everybody else had said in terms of saying thanks for taking the time to hear us out. My name is Alan Van Loo. My background is in investment banking and in the hedge fund space and investments in general. I had the great opportunity to meet Michael and Eric and Bill about pushing almost a year now, maybe 8-9 months. And what really intrigued me about the process and the project as a whole is really the simplicity and elegance of a really important issue that exists socially, not here in the United States, but globally, and in a way that doesn't really socially disrupt a person's day-to-day life. And I'm very proud and pleased to be part of the team. And, we think we've got a very bright future ahead of us. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thanks, Alan. Keith, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time today to listen to our presentation. My name is Keith James. I'm the CFO of Intrommune. I likewise, about 9 to 10 months ago, met with Michael. Again, to echo Alan, it's, the simplicity of it is great. I have a niece. What really resonated with me was my niece is allergic to tree nuts. So it hits my family hard knowing the things that, Bill Reister talks about and everything we're trying to solve for. And, making sure families can live without fear is awesome. And I've been part of larger companies before and startup companies. So I have a mixed background from that perspective, and have been part of raises and Convatec, and recently at a publicly traded company, did an at the market offering and a raise and a prospectus back in January. So looking to help this team, accomplish the goals that we are looking to do, and looking to hear from each one of you from a reach out perspective very soon. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Terry, I see you're there.
Yeah, I'm still here, and thank you, everybody. I serve this company as one of its business advisors, and very pleased to be able to help out in any way I can. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Terry. And I'm Michael Nelson. I'm the CEO, and my background was actually legal and financial. I was an investment banker. I was on the investment side, helped manage over $2 billion at Barclays Capital. There was a team of 3 of us. So switched over about, actually now over 10 years ago into early stage healthcare, and came across Bill Reisacker and Eric with this idea for this platform, and just knew that this was something that patients needed. We are really looking to transform lives. People really do live in fear, and we've been very motivated and working very hard to get this out to the public. So I thank you all for the time, and really appreciate your listening to us.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. I think we'll adjourn right now. And again, thanks everyone for participating.
Great. Thank you, Tian.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.